Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. Today, we are exploring a topic that might surprise you, actually. In fact, when I met this guy who is with me today, I didn't even think about how this profession even related to people's confidence with dating and relationships until we started talking. And, look, we all know that a great smile can boost confidence and attract others. But more than that, taking care of your oral health and well-being overall has a deeper impact on your energy, attractiveness, and self-worth. And lately, it's been strange because I offer these free calls often just to kind of unravel what is going on in your love life. And I've been having so many conversations about how people's health, image, and well-being is stopping them from putting themselves out there to date. There was this one woman I talked to, and she literally was ready to date. She did all this work on herself. She even went shopping, but she hated her smile so much. And I will be honest, her teeth definitely needed work. But it was impacting, like she wouldn't even take a picture for her profile because she didn't like her smile. And so she wanted to wait until she got her teeth done to even go out there and date. There was a man that I recently helped, and I got him a new wardrobe. I helped build a sexy confidence. We were approaching women left and right. He got everything. And this was interesting. He was not even aware of how yellow his teeth were. And I had to say to him, I said, you're an awesome guy, but has anyone ever talked to you about your teeth? And he looked at me amazed, dazed, and confused. And I said, yeah, like there's whitening strips you can do for that. He just had no awareness that this was like killing his just image overall. And he did it, and it made a huge difference. And then there was another client I was working with, and she had sleep apnea, and she didn't even realize it. And she woke up and like almost like stopped breathing one time. And she realized that her moods were so affected by the lack of sleep that that's why she wouldn't like go out with her friends, and people were trying to get her out there. And it was the lack of sleep and energy that she didn't even know that was coming from the sleep apnea that was preventing her from putting herself out there. So there is a connection between a healthy smile, confidence, and energy that you can feel more empowered in the dating world when you look and feel your best. You know that I always preach and teach that from an image consultant standpoint. But the oral hygiene and also your well-being has significant influence in your dating life. And I have an amazingly talented man with me today who is going to shed light on how oral health and sleep not only enhances your physical appearance, but also plays a key role in mental and emotional well-being. He is better known as Dr. Rad. He is rad. And he is an international speaker on sleep apnea, snoring, low-level laser therapy, marketing, medical billing, men's mental health. Oh, and he is so much more. A practicing dentist of 22 years. He has a passion for speaking that includes personal development and strategies that help anyone manifest the life of their dreams. He's the winner of Dentistry's Got Talent. I want to hear more about that. And the Best Facebook Influencer Award. He humbly captivates any audience he speaks to. Now you know why I have him on. Welcome, Dr. Rad. Are you there?
Hey, thanks for having me on. What a great intro. Thank you for that. I didn't know I did all those things.
I know. Isn't it funny when people read your bio back? You're like, oh, that's me.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you are. This
So
is you.
it's what you just said about your smile, about your sleep. Let me get a little closer in Zoom and speak to you. When I get closer to the camera and we get into that conversational talk, and if you could maybe smell my breath. And if my
Oh,
does not smell good because my dental hygiene is not up to par, I don't care how beautiful you are. I don't care how handsome you are. It's a turnoff. We've had that, right? Where you're having a great conversation, you get a little closer, and the breath stinks. And you, how do you tell that to someone? It's almost like when you see lipstick on someone's teeth and you kind of want to say something. But that's okay. But when with the breath, it's challenging, right? And sometimes I offer the person a piece of gum and they're like, oh my God, does my breath stink? I'm like, no, 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 I just thought maybe you'd want some gum. I wanted some and I want to share it, hint, hint.
Yeah, but
So
coming from a dentist, that would, I think, stir a little bit of anxiety.
yeah,
Not gonna
yeah.
lie.
And the
Yeah.
the biggest thing that I've experienced since my I've been through the ringer, I've been divorced and through a hard relationship. And since then I've really noticed a lot of women really look at a man's smile as, the eyes, the smile as being some one of the biggest things that they look at. And so I've had patients come into my office and recognize they need to do Invisalign as an adult. They need to whiten their teeth. So I give them the whitening kit that I have called Rad White. And so, whitening, straightening of your teeth is really crucial, but also keeping your hygiene up to par using water flosser or an electric toothbrush and getting your cleanings every 6 months or so is really crucial to be able to make sure your bad breath. My favorite thing is a tongue scraper. Scraping your tongue really helps with bad breath as well. A lot of fungus and bacteria builds up on our tongue. So tongue scrapers are really, so these are kind of little tips that I like to use to say, hey, make sure you keep your hygiene, oral hygiene up to par, because you can't really get close and no one wants to kiss you, so to speak, if they smell stinky breath on you, no matter how beautiful or how rich you are.
Yeah, and it's hard to flirt when you have bad breath. But these are great tips, and thank you for sharing that because I do want to hear more about that. But I want to back up a little bit because you had mentioned about your divorce and you've been through some things. I mean, you and I talked a little bit, but I would love for you to share more. You have a story, and I would love to hear more about that and what kind of like got you into all the things that you're doing, including kind of this personal development side.
So one of the biggest things I noticed over the retreats that I've been to, Danny Morell, Tony Robbins, Dr. Joe Dispenza, over the years, working on yourself, but then putting it into an action play, right? Going
Yeah.
through therapy. I am a proud man to admit that I've gone through all those adventures to better myself, to understand really ultimately my ego. The testosterone hormone is one of the biggest factors for men. And when I used to get criticized or told I'm not doing this, I took it personal. My self-esteem, my confidence, my worth, my ability to, as a man, think I'm worthy of something great when it comes to a relationship was at a very all-time low because I took every conversation that was on the negative side as a criticism. And when you do that as an individual where a female expresses something as a criticism, the testosterone levels drop in a man literally clinically. Like if you look at the free testosterone levels, and when that happens, what do? We get egotistical, we get angry, we respond in a rebutting, defensive way, which ultimately reduces the oxytocin, the love hormone for the woman. So the woman feels unsafe in being able to bring up another conversation. And then you create this walking on eggshells kind of relationship, and then resentment builds, and you're leading to disaster. So learned how to really control the ego, to understand that a trigger is probably happening when I am not fulfilling something for my partner. And when my partner has the bravery to bring it up, I need to understand the emotions and feelings that are coming from it. So I actually literally would ask, I would say, Kimmy, let me know when I don't do this for you, how does that make you feel? Well, it makes me feel anxious, angry, not appreciated, upset, sad. At the end of the day, Kimmy, that's not an emotion I would want to make you feel if you were someone important to me. Intentfully, that's not the angle of a man or his partner to make them feel. And if that's communicated, the escalation of the fight or the conflict is reduced because then the partner understands that their man is really not purposely trying to make them feel that way. It could be due to ignorance, consistent ignorance, right? It could be due to not knowing how to handle a certain situation. So these are kind of things that I've learned since my lesson of a relationship. I don't like to call it a failure. I call it a lesson, to be able to figure out what I need to do in my communication skills. And I learned all this through a coach of mine. His name is Joel Clemens. I found him on, the good old Instagram. and I had a few sessions with him, and he changed my whole mindset on how to be able to communicate without ego to anyone that's around me that triggers my ego when they criticize me.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because obviously like we began the podcast with obviously, the dentistry side and the oral hygiene and all that and what you do for a living. But then you had this awakening kind of thing that happened after your divorce. And so how does that segue, like in your life and how you help others?
So, I see 25 to 30 patients a day. I now work around 2.5 days a week. And when I used to see patients, now it's the same interaction. Oh, I hate the dentist. I
Yeah.
hate coming here. You're too expensive, or this and that. And usually you hear that a few thousand times a year. It wears on you. And dentists are one of the highest suicide rates. And I think if people constantly tell you they hate you, quote unquote, even though they love being in my office, and we have great banter, and I try my darnest to lead with my feminine at times, which is my compassion and my empathy and my intuitiveness. But I got to lead. Majority of the time, I'm treatment planning. I'm letting know what they need, what's going on, and that's my masculine that steps in. So that's what I learned a lot is even in the dental chair with my clients or my employees who for the most part in my office everyone's female, all the assistants are female, and there's a problem that comes up at work, right? One female attacking the other, and it's like, I don't want to deal with this drama. Now it's like, well, tell me how it makes you feel that so and so said something or did something. Oh, she doesn't care, she's being disrespectful and rude. I go, maybe she's going through something. Let me have a conversation with her. Just ask her if everything's going okay at home. That's what I've learned is the
Mm.
ability to treat my patients differently, treat my employees differently, let alone someone that I'm dating. And it stems into even our friendships that we have, some family, like the kids that I have, that when they go through something, I literally try to enter their being, look out from them and see what they feel. Having compassion
Mm.
and empathy as a man technically is speaking of their feminine, right? And it's hard for us to do that because our emotional maturity is anger, fear, resentment, greed, jealousy. That's not an energy that any human being, let alone a man, should stay in because it repels good stuff from your partner and from anyone in front of you. So that's one of the things I've taken. I've noticed the correlation when I've worked on myself and applied it. I've noticed it work in my dental practice. And so I really truly think my patients are more willing to go with treatment. They understand that I'm not just this guy causing pain or cost a lot of money. I do really care about what I do for them to help them get out of pain, to help them sleep better. And I can't wait to dive in and talk a little bit about how I save relationships by just allowing people to sleep better, right? So yeah, that's how I apply it to kind of the dental field. And anyone that's listening can really apply it to as a real estate agent, as a accountant, as a lawyer, empathizing and having compassion for your person that's in front of you really does help create a better communication and a better relationship.
I love it. You're almost like a dental therapist.
I've been told
Like
that.
literally like, when you put people in the chair, it's multifaceted, like when I put people in the chair as a therapist, it's just one dimensional. Well, and I love that you are kind of incorporating this in your practice too with the lessons that you learned. And it's so important to really hear the other person. And no matter what aspect of the relationship, whether that's like on a first date with someone, whether it's a partner, whether it's somebody sitting in your chair getting treatment, I think so many times people get caught up in the agenda and what they want to say versus what is the other person feeling and going with that. Because, people come to me all the time, and this is the truth. I'm not going to lie, guys, mostly like, Kimmy, can you just give me a line? Can you just tell me what to say, and when it comes to approaching women, and my answer 100% of the time is always no, because we feel that we know when it's a line, it doesn't feel authentic, and it's not that emotional connection that gets created. It's when you truly listen and then reflect back on what you're hearing is when all that magic happens. So I love that you're like getting that. But I want to hear, maybe you have some client stories or, things where it unfolded, where maybe somebody came in for sleep apnea or yellow teeth and it unfolded into so much more.
Yeah, it's funny. The conversations about, especially, there's, I call it sleep divorce. So
Yeah.
sleep divorce are families or relationships where people are together under one roof, and about a third of people who are together under one roof snore, and a third of those are sleeping in separate bedrooms. So I have complaints from my patients that say, "Yeah, doc, I don't sleep. I haven't slept next to my wife in a couple of years. She kicked me out." Or my husband doesn't like to sleep next to me because I'm too loud when I snore. And so we get into the conversation about, other things that come up in relationships, and they tell me, "Oh yeah, we're not dating each other anymore," and I try to do the once a week dating, but then we're not as intimate because we don't sleep next to each other because we snore. And of course, my goal is as Dr. Rad, is to be able to help them sleep next to each other by providing a home sleep test, and then eventually either a usually an oral appliance, a mouthpiece, so they don't have to wear that machine, which is also a little fun
Yeah.
so to wear. So that's one thing that we talk about. The other thing that I talk about are people who are divorced, people who have already been in a marriage or in relationships, and now they're dating again, and they're in their 40s plus, and they're snoring. And
Mhm.
they've been snoring, but their bed partner that was a husband or a wife in the past used to earplugs or be a heavy sleeper or sleep in the other room. Now we've got a first date, a second date, a third date, and I hear this from my patients, and we get lucky, meaning we connect emotionally, mentally, and physically, and then they sleep next to each other.
Ah.
Morning comes around, and it's like, what the hell was that? I
I mean,
didn't
that's
sleep
a
at all
deal
last night.
breaker
Oh,
for some
100%.
people.
I
Yes.
mean, I've been on dates myself, but I hear this a lot from my patients. Like, hey, do you don't snore, do you? Because that's I can't even do that. Like, I don't care how well you talk, how well your one-liners are as a guy, or
Right.
how well you can connect with the feminine and be in your masculine, and all that. If you snore, game over. It's not happening. So that's kind of the fun part in dentistry. When I got into this, me myself being a sleep apnea patient, treating myself almost 14 years ago, I actually had a car crash. I fell asleep at the wheel in 2009. I crashed my car into a tree, not knowing I had sleep apnea. I was more tired throughout the day. And in the beginning of this segment, you were talking about how your energy, your mood,
Yeah.
I call it the resting bitch face. Because you're just grumpy all the time, and you're not as happy-go-lucky. Kimmy, you have a great personality. When I saw you, we magnetically kind of connected. If I had really poor sleep, I'd like to be that, positive, spunky, ready to go in a conversation, be somewhat humorous and funny, natural, kind of not a one-liner kind of mentality, right? And so this is why sleep is so important, because it affects your energy and your mood, let alone all the health factors that we can discuss. So yeah, I mean, it becomes a conversation. I'm just a dentist. I'm not even a real doctor, but which is the joke out there. But it's a lot of relationship stuff that I dive into because of the help with snoring and energy levels being depleted, and really medical effects such as high blood pressure and acid reflux and certain things that people deal with, that you're bringing your medical well-being into a relationship, and someone else has to now live with you like that and carry that burden or that load. So you got to lead a healthier life by keeping your oral cavity healthy, doing the proper hygiene stuff, and hopefully sleeping well.
There's so many layers to what you're talking about. And this is why I wanted to have you on here because, superficially is like, oh, a podcast about a smile. Like how is that even going to be? But as we're unraveling all these layers, you see how it can affect people in a very like a lot deeper way, because it also can affect your self-esteem. Like if you are self-conscious in any way, shape, or form about you physically, and it could include your smile, it can include even just like the snoring thing. If you know that about you, that might impact even your first date and subconsciously. It's like, well, how can I flirt with that person knowing that later on, if I sleep with that person, I'm gonna snore. Like it's so embedded and this goes beyond the smile. It could be any health aspect for that matter. And it is about our well-being. And the sleep is just huge. I mean, I can't stress enough because there are so many people that I work with that are not getting enough sleep, and they just won't go out. They just won't go out or put themselves out there. And like you said, they don't have the energy to even be positive, kind of thing. So, um, are there certain, I guess, I don't know, like tips that you could give people who want to either prevent something from happening like this, like with good oral hygiene or whatever, but also like remedy it, because I mean, obviously going to the dentist, I mean, you're going to give tips, but just people need to have that awareness, like even at home.
Yeah, so one of the things that unfortunately when we gain weight, that can impinge our breathing area around our neck, and
Ah,
that can
yeah.
influence a lot of snore. All of a sudden, I'm snoring ever since I gained this extra 10 pounds. And look, we are our worst critic. One of the things I've learned and I talk about is self-love is a very challenging task to achieve. If you have self-love, that means you have absolute zero criticism and you unconditionally love from the top of your head with every hair strand that's there still or not, down to the toes and feet, toenails that you still have that hopefully don't have bunions and whatever.
That's another
You love,
podcast.
that's another podcast.
Yeah.
That you will love every part of yourself. That's a challenging and a lot of pressure, to be honest, to have on yourself. I call it self-acceptance. If you can accept yourself to where you're at in your life, that can lead to a little bit more confidence. And because once you start accepting yourself and your flaws, you become less judgmental towards other people's flaws, and you start accepting other people's flaws a little bit more. Because as you know, if I have judgment on you, Kimmy, your walls go up. You
Yeah.
start building. You're not doing this enough. You're not this enough. You're still oh, that doesn't look good on you. All of a sudden, you don't. Who wants to be around a person who judges them, right? And so, at the end of the day, when it comes to our oral hygiene and our sleep, there are certain things that we can do at home. Of course, if your smile is affecting you, and when you laugh, you kind of laugh to the side, or you cover your hand, or you don't show that vibrant smile, it does take some work. You may have to do Invisalign for a year or two and spend the $5,000-6,000, but guess what? Now you're good to go for the rest of your life, in having that ability to be able to smile. I mean, a lot of people get their boobs done, they get their lips done, they get Botox done. I mean, we do so much self work. The teeth are just as important. Men too are noticing women's teeth, and of course, I said in reverse, women think a smile is one of the top 3 things that they look at as an attractive quality. So that's that. When it comes to sleep, yeah, losing weight, trying to eat better, it's obviously good for your overall health. But if you do lose weight, you tend to sleep better. Sleeping on your side is better than sleeping on your back. I usually tell people try to have a pillow to support your back so you don't fall on your side. So, excuse me, fall on your back. Because when you fall on your back, your tongue falls back due to gravity more, and you
Mm.
have more snoring and apneic events. And of course, drinking. You're out on a date, or someone's over and you drink. If you're drinking within an hour or two before bedtime, that's going to dry up your mouth. It's going to cause alcohol is going to cause you to have more relaxed kind of muscles, and the tongue gets more relaxed, and the snoring gets worse. So you definitely want to do some water the last couple hours, or not too much water so you don't get up to go to the restroom, but stay away from the alcohol closer to bedtime, 2 hours or more before bedtime, so you don't have such a higher chance of snoring next to a bed partner. So those are some little tricks, and of course, consistency. And the hardest part is, I used to be able to go, oh, it's Thursday, 9 o'clock, let's go out. And now it's like 9 o'clock on Thursday. I'm like, man, the bed looks so good right now, right? Like we're getting more
Right.
tired throughout the day because we're We have so much going on. Our mind activity is really high. So really, when you get a quality of 6 hours of quality sleep, because
Mhm.
you're wearing a mouthpiece, you've had your sleep evaluated, that's better than 7 and 8 hours of Xanax, Benadryl, marijuana gummy, red wine induced sleep, right? And so, really, my first recommendation is if you have sleep problems, get a home sleep test, see if you have sleep
Mm.
apnea. There's some home remedies that I just talked about that you can do, but it's really important to evaluate it professionally.
Yeah. Oh my, there's some such good tips in there that I didn't even like think about or realize that affect the sleep and stuff. As we end things, like I was thinking about what you said is so true, like how we judge other people, and really what you're doing is you're judging yourself. People who are really critical of themselves are usually the ones that are critical of others. And so anything you can do to feel better about yourself and stop focusing on everybody else, but because this really is about you and how you feel. And when you feel good and you feel positive and you're energetic and you have enough sleep, like that's half the battle to attracting like a positive relationship. So I love that. Like we're kind of all tying that together. Are there any kind of parting words of wisdom that you wanted to share? And it could be anything from the teeth to relationships.
Yeah, one of the closing remarks I like to always lead with is lead with compassion. When you lead with compassion, with empathy and understanding, even towards your enemy, it doesn't affect you as much emotionally. It's a when you have compassion for a Trump supporter, you have compassion for a Kamala Harris voter, and you're on the opposite side, which has been a big conversation nowadays. Have compassion. You don't have to agree with people, but
Right.
to understand they've gone through a childhood experience. They're going through some triggers. There's so many different things can affect them, and when you do that, you get less emotional immaturity. You become a little bit more just happy-go-lucky within your day. And that's my closing remark to lead everyone, no matter where you're from, what race, culture, gender, what your ideology is. It's really important to do that. Kindness and compassion is the only way towards a happy life.
And acceptance. I love it. I love all of that. Yes. Oh my
Yep.
gosh. Thank you so much for coming out. And where can everyone find you? And is there any, yeah, I mean, you said that you mentioned you have some products too for people.
Yeah, so everything's Rad. My last name is Dr. Rad. So Rad Health Inc. is my products, radhealthinc.com. I have sleep products, TMJ products, the water flosser, electric toothbrushes, the whitening kit. It's very affordable. It's like $30 online for a home whitening kit called Rad White.
Ooh.
So radhealthinc.com. And you can just, Google Dr. Rad, Radfar, Radfar is my full name. You'll see my Instagram, my handles. If you have any questions, you can DM me or message me through the website.
Oh my God. Awesome. Thank you so, so much for coming on. That was super fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thanks for joining me today, you listening. This has been the Charisma Quotient, and I'm your host, of course, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. And if you want to know more, make sure you go to my site, kimmyseltzer.com. And if your health and well being is affecting your dating life, and it's stopping you from putting yourself out there, then just hop on a personal call with me. Yes, it's me. It's not my assistant. People have been asking me, oh my God, I can't believe it's you. Yes, it's me. I just want to help. Come and I'll just come up with some strategies to get you unstuck and feel empowered. Just click the link you see in the show notes to do that. And remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.